The Megantic accident occurred on July 5, 2013 when an unattended MMA railway train carrying approximately 7.7 liters of petroleum crude oil rolled down a descending grade rail track in Nantes, Quebec. Earlier that evening, the engineer operating the train parked it on a degrading rail. He shut down all the locomotives except the leading one and applied 9 handbrakes. In keeping with the railroad standards, he then performed a test to verify that the handbrakes alone were capable of holding the train. However, the air brakes were also left on and the train was held by a combination of the 2 brakes, which caused an incorrect result of the test. Also, throughout the trip, the lead locomotive was producing unexpected smoke. The engineer mentioned this to the rail traffic controller, but they decided to investigate this issue in the morning. Later that night, the locomotive caught on fire. The fire was later put off by firefighters, and following railway instructions, they shut down the leading locomotive. With all of the locomotives turned off, the air brakes were no longer effective, and the train began to roll down the rail. The train reached a speed of 65 miles per hour, causing 63 of the 72 tank cars to derail near the center of the town. This resulted in about 6 million liters of the oil to spill, initiating a fire and causing an explosion of the tank cars. There are several causes to this accident. These include the following: flawed operating procedures practiced by the engineer, lack of sufficient training provided by MMA to its employees, weak safety culture practiced by MMA, weak regularity oversight from Transport Canada's end, and a defective locomotive. During investigation, it was found that the locomotive was sent for repairs earlier and was repaired with a material that did not meet the standards. The impact of this disaster was clearly significant as many parties were affected. It caused the death of 47 people, the destruction of several buildings and businesses, and the loss of 6 million liters of oil. The following slides explore ethical issues related to this case. The main ethical issues are the following: the MMA repair shop used inferior materials, which resulted in the fire on the train. The locomotive engineer was incompetent. MMA provided insufficient training to its employees and practiced the poor safety culture, and Transport Canada also did not manage MMA's unsafe behavior. Due to all these facts, they breached the Code of Ethics under Section 77.2I and 77.1V. They are also liable for professional misconduct under 77.2A, B, C, and F. From analyzing approaches, we first see that a proper repair of the locomotive would have solved the problem, but does not prevent the risk of similar future disasters. A second approach would be to sufficiently train the engineers and MMA practicing a strong safety culture. This ensures that the accident would not have occurred and prevents future-related accidents by affecting the whole company. Thirdly, having more crew and parking the train in a safer location are both short-term solutions. Therefore, the best approach to take would be for MMA to practice a strong safety culture and provide their employees with proper training. This choice has the least repercussions and is the most reliable. The following slides explore the legal issues related with this case. The legal case deals with tort law, in which there is no need for contractual relationship. There are 3 conditions that must be proved to demonstrate tort. The defendant owed the plaintiff a duty of care, the defendant failed in that duty of care, and the plaintiff incurred a loss. In this case, the plaintiff were the 2,000 people forced out of their homes and businesses, the people who lost their jobs because of the accident, and the families who lost their relatives. There are multiple tortfeasors: the locomotive engineer, MMA employees including the rail traffic controller, and MMA Railway in general. The most relevant legal example for this case is Donahue versus Stevenson. In this case, Mrs. Donahue discovered a dead snail in her bottle of ginger beer, which caused her to fall sick. She sued Mr. Stevenson, the manufacturer of the beer, and won the case, because he owed her a duty of care and the consequences were reasonably foreseeable. MMA and all of its employees involved in the case owed a duty of care to the plaintiff. They clearly failed to provide that duty of care, and as a result, the plaintiff incurred a loss of property, business, and jobs, and people suffered injuries and some even lost their lives. Therefore, the tort is proved. In tort law, it is possible to recover the cost of losses under 2 conditions: that the claim was made within 15 years of the original act, and within 2 years of discovery of the failure in the duty of care. There are exceptions to this limitation of liability which do not apply to this case. Thus, MMA would be held liable. Also, in this case, MMA would be vicariously liable for the actions of its employees. In the Donahue versus Stevenson case, Mr. Stevenson was found liable for the loss incurred by Mrs. Donahue even though they did not share a contractual relationship. Similarly, in this case, the plaintiff and the tortfeasors do not share a contractual relationship, but MMA would be found liable.